The Philippines. I was only 4 years old when my world changed forever. A volcano called Mount Pinatubo erupted, and my mother and I had no choice but to leave. We boarded a Navy ship, first to Hawaii, then to California. My dad was out at sea serving in the Navy, completely unaware that his family was arriving in America. Shortly after, my little brother was born, and we moved again to Iowa, my father's hometown state. It was there I had my first taste of winter, my first experience learning English, my first realization that being different sometimes meant standing out. I remember me as a small boy stepping into a new neighborhood surrounded by older kids. At first, I made friends pretty easy. Then, I learned how quickly things can change. I walked up to a group of older kids, smiling, ready to introduce myself. Then one of them smirked. "I bet you can't beat him up." They threw a sixth grader at me, a kid twice my size. I was only in first grade. I don't remember much about the fight, but I remember how it ended. Him on the ground. That moment gave me a reputation. It also gave me protection. Those older kids had my back for years to come. But the world outside of that, it wasn't so welcoming. Do you remember those swinging gates that were made for playgrounds? I'll never forget them. One day, I was playing at the baseball fields near my apartment. Then I saw him, a huge teenager walking across like he owned the place. I didn't know his name yet, but I would learn it. The Whites, a family from Chicago. Their reputation? Racists. Without a word, he grabbed that swinging gate and slammed it into my face. I hit the ground, stunned. That was my first real experience with racism, but it wouldn't be my last. I remember walking down school hallways, kids laughing. I heard words like chink, slant eye. They thought their words would break me, but I fought back, literally. Elementary school, my name was passed around. My friends would set up fights in different places around town. The challenge, fight the biggest, toughest guy that they could find. I won a lot of fights. I lost a few. But every time I walked away respected. I wasn't a bully. I fought for those who couldn't fight for themselves. But sometimes fights weren't always the answer. I fought through middle school, high school. If you had bullies in your life, I know exactly how you feel. A packed street in a small town. Fireworks explode in the sky. I was in my 20s when I moved to Grand Mound, Iowa. Population, about 500. When the census came around, I found out something interesting. I was the only colored person in town. I had a girlfriend whose family had a great reputation in the community, but earning my place, that took some time, especially in places like a local bar. Grand Mound was known for its fireworks show every year. People from all around came for the music, the parades, and the celebration. That night, after the fireworks, my usual group of friends and I headed uptown to the local bar. The streets were still packed with visitors. I didn't smoke, but I stood outside with my friends who did, enjoying the summer air. That's when I saw him, a guy walking past, giving me that look. I brushed it off until one of my friends came out and said, "That guy's been talking crap about you inside." I didn't care. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. But my girlfriend was inside, and that guy, he kept running his mouth. So I walked in to see him and my girlfriend toe to toe. This bar, this town, this bartender, they all saw me as family. That guy, he didn't know that. I stepped up to him and said, "Step away from my girl. You need to chill out." He walked up to the other side of the bar. For some reason, he wrapped a red bandana around his head like it was some kind of signal. Then he got loud again. Obnoxious. Few too many drinks. Everyone in the bar could see it. He walked up to me once more. "All right, if you really want to do this, let's do this outside." I'd been in a lot of fights. Wrestled for 6 years, fought in a cage for a few times. But in self-defense, you should never turn your back to your opponent. But I did. So as I walked toward the exit, I was ready. Sure enough, the second I stepped into the doorway to the outside, I felt an arm slip around my neck. But before he could lock it in, I slipped out and punched him straight in the face. He flew back 5 feet away and hit the ground. I rushed him, but before I could even take another step, the entire bar had my back. People grabbed me, holding me back while others shoved them into the streets. Someone asked if they should call the sheriff. I heard the bartender say, "In this town, we take care of our own." That's a no. That guy, he wasn't alone anymore. Outside, he was surrounded by at least 9 big country boys. One of them looked at me and said, "Don't worry, Blair, we got this." He wasn't hurt. His sister stepped in for him. And eventually, they were both told to leave town. The lesson? That night, I learned something. I had spent my whole life fighting to belong, but belonging isn't just about who you fight, it's about who fights for you. It's about community. I had spent years dealing with racism, pushing back, proving myself. But in that moment, I wasn't alone. I wasn't just a Filipino in a white town. I was one of them. Not because I fought my way in, but because I had earned my place by showing respect, by showing loyalty, and by being myself. And that's something no one can take away. Welcome to the 1000 podcast. I'm your host, Blair Perrin. This is a warrior's journey of faith, fighting, and lifelong learning. And this is episode 2. And the question is, what turns an average person into a warrior? And where we're going with this is, man, there are sometimes situations that we have to deal with. And for me, it was dealing with racism that had made me really resilient. And I had to learn a lot of things along my journey. And that story of that gate swinging into my face, I can feel it. But you know what hurt more than the gate was my emotions. I just did not understand why a person who didn't know who I was would take a gate that I was playing on and shove that straight into my face. I didn't understand racism. I didn't understand until a little while longer. I was in first grade, and that guy was a teenager, big, strong, and obviously broken and not doing well. So how do I deal with those situations? I dealt with those situations through fighting, as we talked about a little bit earlier. Is that, man, I got in a lot of fights when I was a kid. My first fight was in first grade, and I fought, man, all the way through my 20s. And the only way I fight now is because I'm a martial artist. I practice Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and that fighting has, become part of my lifestyle, not so much because I want to fight people, but more so of always being prepared in case I do get into a situation where I have to fight somebody, which I never want to. You just, like I think I've said before, you just never know what people are carrying on their person. I don't know if they're carrying a knife. I don't know if they're carrying a loaded weapon. It's just better off not to fight. But I love to train. And so, yeah, it's just been part of my life. But dealing with racism, man, so let's just talk about being Asian in Iowa in the 90s. And so I was born in 88 and grew up most of my life in Iowa. And so always being a minority. And I had to learn how to deal with some things, and how I dealt with racism at the time was, sometimes it was humor. I had to learn how to make fun of myself to kind of take away the blunt of the blow of even some of my friends calling me names out of fun. But man, there's definitely times, there was years even, where that nagged me. That my close friends would make fun of me. Um, and eventually, I got over it. I became a little bit more resilient, and yeah, had to, yeah, learn some things. But what were some of the benefits to having to become resilient. I became stronger. I started lifting weights. I started working on myself in other ways. I I joined sports teams. I joined clubs. I became a wrestler. My thought process was from what I had learned while I was in elementary school is that having a, a crew, a group of friends, my thought process was is that you would have people that would one know you, encourage you, and protect you. And yeah, and so being part of like the wrestling team and and the football team and being in those like tougher roles, I thought that was kind of part of my group identity, meaning like you had to be pretty badass to be in those two sports. What were some ways that I could have released some of my anger outside of fighting, outside of uh, building friendships, and some things that people do nowadays is they express themselves through music, through art, um, through journaling, and I think such beauty comes from man some of those broken places, some of those hard places, and some of the best paintings are the ones that you see the most contrast in. When it comes to talking with like people, when I was younger, I just did not talk to people about a lot of my emotions. I always seemed to be the one that people came to talk to about their problems, and I seem to have wisdom and answers that I don't know where it came from at the time. I definitely don't know, but people did. Being someone's person is always cool. My invitation to you, if you are dealing with racism or bullies or anything, is to find your people, to find your person. So like for me, it is my wife, my person. She's my person. She knows me inside and out. And then my crew, my group is my friends. You know, like right now in this season, it's my teammates. It's my uh, it's those that I practice jujitsu with. It's those that I'm learning Filipino martial arts with. It's my church. Those are my tribe. That's my crew. And that being said, I have created a guide, free for you. It's a freebie. It's something that I wish I would have had when I was younger. And it's basically learning how to guard your heart and to find your tribe. And uh, this is free. And yeah, here's an ad. Let's go. Sorry to bother you, but I wanted to thank you so much for checking out the 1000 podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode and would like to see more like this, please subscribe and comment below how this episode made you feel. But don't stop there. You're going to want to hit that notification button because we're just getting started here. And in the next few months, I plan to drop a new episode every week until we hit 12 episodes, and that will be season 1, where we will take a week off to stop and evaluate all of the feedback for this new podcast because your input matters. And just to show you my initial appreciation, I'm dropping freebie downloads that I've created to help you, my community, begin to find your purpose in this season. If you've been feeling stuck or just needed some encouragement or direction, Blair's Guide to Discover the Reason for Being, that's the title, and part 2 called Season for the Reason, both guides will be available today. Not only that, I have one more special gift, and it's a free guide to help us learn to protect our hearts or to guard our hearts. This is something I wish someone would have told me as a young man, also great for a young lady, everybody really, but now I am giving this knowledge away to you simply because I believe you matter and you should believe so too. Thank you. Let's get back to the episode. Can I just say, like, the people that you're with, my hope for you is that you're with people that are calling you to higher places, that know you, that will, if you're doing something stupid, they're like, hey, Blair, It's like, you're better than this. It's like, you're made more than this. This is not you. You can do better. I will walk alongside you through this hardship. Like, those are the type of people you want to belong with. And if not, if you're in an abusive relationship, or you have friends that are, um, making fun of you, or you're having to serve people, like serve your friends in negative ways, like, maybe they're not your friends. Maybe it's time to rethink where you belong. And, like, you're not stuck. You don't have to be stuck in the situation that you're in. There's always a way out. And it begins with being aware of you. And yeah, like, my hope is that when we grow this tribe of 1,000 meaningful relationships, 1,000 people that want to have a warrior mindset, that are encouraging to each other. That's my hope, is that we find a tribe, that we create this and build this community together without judgment, without being able to be like, man, it's like, you suck, bro. It's like, no, like, that's not the type of people that we are. And so group identity is this. Group identity is sharing, like, who we are. And who are we? We're a group of people with warrior mindsets. That we are people that want to be more disciplined. We are a group of people of protectors. We are a group of people that uh, bring other people in, and make them know that they belong somewhere. We are a group of people that encourage and support one another. And group identity is so important, because when you step outside of the tribe, when you step outside of this group, when you step outside of the people that you belong with, that group identity, that never leaves you. It's important. This is why who you surround yourself with is so important, because when you encounter other people that have different ways of life and culture, or ways that they think, or how they treat people, you can always remind yourself, like, that's not the type of person that I am, though. And so you can learn to disassociate with what they are saying. And so that is an amazing way to defend against some of the negative thoughts of the world. Sometimes it's even your own negative thoughts. What is your group identity? And yeah, find your people, find your tribe. And if you want to be part of the tribe 1,000, 1,000 meaningful relationships, this community, man, join our newsletter. We're going to be creating a private forum, maybe a Discord. It's all in process right now. So yeah, little shout out there. What was I writing here? And you know, one of the importance about that group identity statement is that um, things are easier for to bounce off of you. Negative things are easier to bounce off of you, because you've created such a foundation of who you are. And I think it's important for all of us to take time to reflect on our own identity. Who are you? Who are you? Where do you belong? What kind of moments turn an average person into a warrior? And at the end of the day, moments like struggle, moments that test you, moments that trigger you, are moments and opportunities that allow you to grow into the person that you want to be. And what does that look like for you on the day to day? Is it when you're driving and when you're experiencing a little road rage on the streets? Is it when you're out and about and someone, makes fun of you or the person that you're with? Or is just they're having a bad day, and they're uh, putting their emotions and struggles onto you. Those are all things and situations where you can grow as a person. Can you keep peace during those moments? Can you be the bigger person and walk away? Can you let go of ego when someone makes fun of you? My hope is that together we grow as a community, so we all learn that we are better, we can be better, and because the world deserves that. I think we are in such an interesting place in our history where identity is so distorted, and people are thinking they are things that they are not, and some people are in la la land, man. Like, my hope is that you discover what it means to be a human being on a journey of struggle, because it's the same journey. We all bleed the same blood, and there is hope at the end of the tunnel. So that's the 1000 podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Please like, subscribe, share with me how this story made you feel, what you think about this podcast so far, and comment below. Subscribe. I'm looking forward to releasing episode 3 here, and should be dropping here any second now. Thank you so much again. I'm Blair, and this is the 1000 podcast. We'll see you later. Peace out.